really excited to cover this topic tonight. There is a lot that will apply to people, whether you live in Southeast Louisiana or Pensacola, wherever you are, we all are impacted by weather. So there's a lot to cover. We're going to talk about what to do before a storm, during a storm, after any type of storm. And we're also going to talk about tornadoes tonight. That is something that is becoming more common in New Orleans. I know a lot of people are shocked to experience that or hear about it, but they're happening. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. Please remember that the live stream is fully interactive. So please leave your comments like everybody else has been leaving those there. Let me go ahead and bring those comments back up so that you can see them. So yeah, please participate, ask questions, share experiences, anything like that. We love having you here and participating. That makes it 200 times more fun than just me talking, which, you know, if we need to, we can do that too. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through, let me make sure we've got this right. So we're going to go through this presentation. There's a lot of information in here, but if at any point anyone would like me to pause or shift focus or anything that, let me know. But as always, before we dive in, a couple things, little housekeeping notes. You can call or text me anytime. My personal cell phone number is 504-617-5184. I probably won't see it during the live stream, but if you have any specific questions or follow-ups afterward, or you're looking to buy, sell, or lease in Louisiana, let me know. Don't forget to like this live stream and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Liking the live stream and subscribing to the YouTube channel is immensely helpful for people finding this, the channel and all this information. And then also we have Liz Wallace in the chat. Liz Wallace, who is my licensed assistant, a phenomenal advisor in her own right as well. So she will be helping facilitate the conversation. If you have any side questions, she may bring things up to my attention. She's just here to help us moderate the conversation. You can also see me this Saturday. I'm very excited about this. As many of you know, I just moved to Bayou St. John in New Orleans, and we will be celebrating Bastille Day this Saturday, July 11th from 5 to 9 p.m. That's going to be on the 3100 block of Ponce de Leon. That's where Thousand Figs is and Canseco's and Cafe Degas. It's all going to be right there. I'll be volunteering at the drink tickets tent from 5 to 7. And then again, I'll be volunteering from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the Faubourg St. John Neighborhood Association booth. So come see us, learn a little bit about the neighborhood, what we've got going on. And then, of course, I am your gatekeeper for the evening or for at least 2 hours if you would like to purchase a beverage that night. Not only will I be there selling drink tickets, but you can see it on my shirt here. I'll be giving out, hi Kennedy, thank you for joining. I'll be giving out these French flag pins. It also feels very appropriate today since the French soccer team advanced in the FIFA World Cup. So big week for the French. Last week was all about the Americans, and now I guess we're all about the French. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in to the topic at hand. We're talking about, oh, that's hateful, Scott, that there's no French flag emoji. But tonight we're going to be talking about hurricane and severe weather prep, specifically for Louisiana homeowners, but this will apply to many, many people. I do have a lot of information here tonight. So this presentation will not have all of the details. If you would like a complete copy of all the tips and everything, just let me know. You can drop it in the chat. We'll find a way to get it to you. You can use my website, richardhebertrealtor.com. You'll see that on the ticker at the bottom. You can also request that through my contact feature on my website. So let's dive on in. This is, we're now in a month into hurricane season, which runs up until November. The forecast for the season is saying that it's going to be a lighter season, thanks to a strong El Nino, that we're expecting about 8 to 14 named storms, 3 to 6 hurricanes, and 1 to 3 major hurricanes, which seems low compared to what we typically see. But I love this quote that I found from NOAA, that's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, that they said it only takes one storm to make it a very bad season. So even though the predictions have us having a lighter season, you can never be too prepared. And as many of us know, it only takes one storm to really mess things up and cause you to have a very bad season. We've already had Tropical Storm Arthur that dropped significant rainfall on Louisiana. So that doesn't mean that quiet is to say that nothing's going to happen. And today is not about scaring anybody. I don't want this to be something that feels alarmist or the oogie boogie, the boogeyman, or anything. But this is to enable you. We have quite a few advisors in the chat tonight. Enable your clients to just be prepared for Mother Nature. She's very unpredictable. She's got a mind of her own. You never know what's going to happen. But the one thing that you can predict is your plan and having that plan in place. So not only are we going to talk about universal preparation, we're going to break it down into what you specifically need to know for hurricanes, flooding, and tornadoes. But first, we're going to start with all weather preparedness. What do you need to know no matter what the weather is going to be? What are just those good tips to have? Well, the very first thing is always going to be insurance. Insurance is your greatest protection, protecting your belongings, your livelihood in a number of instances. But one thing that I think people get confused about is that homeowners insurance and flood insurance are two entirely different policies. If you have not had the opportunity to go back in my live stream archive on the YouTube channel, I have a wonderful conversation with Lee Miller at Goosehead Insurance. We talk so much about specific policies and coverages and what do you need to know and how do you know that you have enough coverage. So make sure if you're curious more about insurances, you go back and take a look at it. But the big key thing here that I want to share, and we're going to reiterate later on, is that flood insurance is not included in your homeowners. So a lot of people, even if you live in an X flood zone, which is prime, a lot of people don't realize that your flood, if there's a street flooding, it doesn't have to just be a hurricane, could be a pop-up thunderstorm, that's not always covered. So make sure that you check your coverages, that you have enough coverage, that you're in communication, you know how to get in touch with your insurance companies. All those things are super helpful. This one always surprises me. Know your phone numbers. If I asked you right now, could you recite your emergency contacts? You could probably recite your mom's, child's, significant others. I can't recite my significant others, so this applies to me as well. But what we want to do in this case is to have written and digital copies of it. So of course you've got your memory, but when all this stuff is going on, it can be crazy. Remember the phone numbers. Remember to write them down, to save them. And emergency contacts around severe weather also include things like your insurance claim phone number. You may be on the road, your phone may fall in the water, it may not work. You want to always have two different ways to access that, a digital copy and a handwritten copy. Protect your documents. Consider the written copies of those phone numbers as part of your documents. You're going to, again, want physical and digital copies of it. The one thing that I'm always really good at is every time I take my dog Pancake to the vet and he gets his vaccinations and immunizations and all that stuff, I immediately take a picture of it and email it to myself. So please remember to do those things. Have a Google Drive folder that's shared not only with yourself, but also your partner or a loved one, someone that you can trust. Always make sure that people have multiple ways to access those required documents. And that can be a number of different documents. That's going to be your insurance policy, your deed, a copy of your lease, your IDs, birth certificates, medical records. Scan all of these in so that you have a digital copy offsite, either in a cloud like G Drive or email to yourself. And make sure that you also keep the physical copies in a waterproof or fireproof bag. Because in all of these events, water is not always the problem. Wind is not always the problem. Sometimes fire comes in and plays into it a little bit. Simone asked, when I got married after a very long time of dating, people would ask, does it feel different? And she said, my response was always that I was married, and I had to memorize his phone number. Well, you're doing better than I'm doing, Simone. So good for you on that one. But yeah, you're going to want to keep all of these documents in a quick, ready to go bag location, something that is fireproof and waterproof. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. So, about the containers and your go bag. But the other thing that I recommend is going ahead and signing up for emergency alerts. Wherever you are, I know that they have emergency alert system. Here in New Orleans, it's NOLA Ready. We NOLA Ready does a very good job, in my opinion, of text and email and phone call alerts. It is a completely free service. You can sign up through, I believe it's nolaready.gov, and be updated on everything from severe thunderstorm warnings to flood warnings and flood watches. You also can be brought up to speed. I know recently there was a transformer fire that happened underground in the French Quarter. I got a NOLA Ready alert for that. Wherever you are, that municipality, I'm sure, has some version of this that keeps you updated. Here, they also cover as much as amber alerts and silver alerts, but they're going to be the ones to tell you when you need to leave, when it's safe to return, and what's going on with the weather and impending threats. Smart 911 is a great service as well. It is free. That will help 911 response services get to you faster. It's a better way for them to be able to access your location, emergency information about yourself. So emergency contacts, if you're calling, they can typically access more information than just your phone number and trying to geolocate based on where you're calling from. So I recommend those two if you're in the city of New Orleans. NOLA Ready and Smart 911. Smart 911 is actually a national program, so please check that out as well. And then build your emergency go bag. I have something exciting for this that we're going to talk about at the end, but your emergency go bag is the ticket. Everybody thinks that they are good to go, and well, I'm pretty sure we have some batteries in the house and we've got a flashlight and whatever. Can you grab it right now? Is it easy to just reach in one location that you know to grab everything that you need in case of an emergency? But when you're building that bag, you may not have everything that you need. You need to remember to have at least 1 gallon of water per person per day for 3 to 7 days. That's a lot of water. One of my pet peeves is when I have bottled water in the house during hurricane season. Everyone always takes it, and that is my emergency water. So make sure that this water is kept separate and that you have enough to get you through 3 to 7 days. And as a reminder, that is 1 gallon per person per day. Non-perishable food, you want to keep that for the same amount of time for 3 to 7 days. At least a week's supply of your medications and copies of your prescriptions if you are required to evacuate. Getting your prescriptions can be a big pain in the behind. So make sure you have those copies. Make sure that's included as a digital and physical copy. Because remember, if you are evacuating and your general practitioner is in town, your GP is also evacuating. You can try to call that office in the case of an emergency, but they're also gone. They live here. They're people just as we are. They will be out of town as well. You're going to want to keep phone chargers, a portable battery bank. That's shockingly hard to say. A portable battery bank. Flashlights. I highly recommend a flashlight with a strobe feature. If, and God forbid, there is an emergency where first responders are trying to locate you, it can be very dark. There could be a lot going on. I highly recommend a flashlight with a strobe feature. It's also very good to have one with a red light strobe feature. One pro tip that I love is a lot of people in New Orleans like to bike around. Bicycle tail lights are a great emergency light. They flash, they are meant to get your attention. So think about having one of those as well. And then, make sure that you have a solar powered or hand cranked NOAA weather radio. You can get updates even if cell service and power are both out. You're going to want the hand crank or the solar powered because if you run through all of your batteries, if the batteries get wet, anything like that, make sure that you always have a plan B. And in this case, with your weather radio, the plan B would be solar powered or a hand crank. I know that we have used those myself many of different times. You're going to want to have cash. cash. When the internet goes down, when the power goes out, you cannot tap to pay with no internet. That's just how it works. So we will always revert back to cash. Cash is always transactionable. So make sure that you keep cash on file or on hand. I do also recommend keeping cash in various denominations. Don't go to the bank, even if you want to flex on somebody in an emergency, which is probably a sick move on your part, not sick in a cool way, but they may not have change. So I recommend having maybe a couple hundreds, but 20s and 10s and 5s and 1s, because people aren't going to be in a place to make change in the event of an emergency. Have the first aid kit. There are a million available for this, but also take care of the four-legged friends. You're going to want to have your pet food, the leashes, the carriers, like I said earlier, the vaccination records. This is one that I think people tend to forget, is to have puppy pads. If you've got, or kitty litter, like whatever you need to do, they may be in the car, especially if you are evacuating. The pet can be in the car for an extremely long period of time. And remember, when you're packing that water, that you should also be packing the water for your pet. Don't have to ration that later on. Liz said that her dad has always had a weather radio. I can hear it. I can hear that sound of the weather alerts and everything. We always grew up with them as well. Um, One thing that I'm excited to be putting together that I will be sharing out on social media and in my weekly newsletter, which you don't receive it, you can sign up at richardhebertrealtor.com/contact. But I'm going to put together an Amazon storefront. So this won't be something that's an affiliate link. I don't plan to make any money off of it. But essentially, I want to have something for folks who are trying to put this together. You might be a little overwhelmed. Where do I get this? What all was on that list? I'm going to put together an Amazon storefront link so that you can just go through and order one of everything. That's going to be everything that we just talked about. The fire safe and waterproof bags and carriers that I recommend, the hand cranked weather radio, and also the strobing flashlights. All of that stuff will be in there. And if that's something that is of interest to you, stick around to the end, because you could win one. We'll see. The other thing is, you need to be prepared to text. Oh gosh. In New Orleans, I think we go through this a few different times a year as part of our regularly scheduled programming. And that is going to be, hi, Jacqueline, welcome in. That's sweet of me. Thank you. I appreciate that. But be prepared to text. Your phone calls, if cell service goes down, your phone calls are not going to be able to get out to people. This occurs a lot during Mardi Gras, during New Year's, anytime that there is a significant amount of traffic with the cell towers. It's going to be hard to make a phone call. We've all had that. You're drunk at Mardi Gras and you're trying to call your friend. Well, imagine that, but you're in the middle of a hurricane. It's not a great experience. It's kind of scary. But one thing that you need to know how to do is to send an SMS, which is just a plain text message, versus an iMessage or an MMS, which is a multimedia message. Go into your iPhone. If you have any questions about how to do this, let me know. But go into your iPhone and turn off, in the event of an emergency, turn off iMessage so that you have a higher likelihood, because that uses data, which is the first thing to go down. Make sure that you're able to send plain text messages to stay up to date, and then to keep loved ones in the loop about what's going on. Make sure you also are sharing your location with loved ones. Do that through the Find My feature on iPhone. You can also do that for, Mardi Gras. I mean, think of emergency situations like Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is just one big emergency where there's hecticness and everything's going on. This, I suppose, is very akin to a lot of that. And make sure you share that location with multiple people, not just the people who are going to be with you because they know where you are. Make sure you're sharing that with your folks who are out of town. And I would say at least once a year, preferably once a quarter. Yes, Dinah said, in emergencies only are green texts okay. That's right. The green text is an SMS. It's Android texting, I suppose, if you're an iPhone elitist. But yes, you want the green text in emergency, because that means it's getting somewhere. but also video document your home. This is a huge, massively helpful tip, is that you can go through and take pictures and do an inventory of your house. That's great. But you may not capture everything in those pictures. So I actually recommend taking a full video walkthrough of your house, interior, exterior. Please open your cabinets, open your closets, take a video, store it in a cloud, Google Drive, email it to yourself, whatever it is. But that is going to be incredibly helpful in the unfortunate event of a loss of anything. You will know exactly what you had. You're not trying to go off of memory after a traumatic event like a storm. It's really hard to go off of memory for anything. So please do take a video walkthrough. Do it tonight. Do it tomorrow. Do not wait until you're running out of the house and you forget to do it and you say, "Oh, I meant to do that." Do it now. Jake shares that there's a walkie-talkie app. I think it's called walkie-talkie that worked great during Ida while the phones were down. That was a really, really good one. So have those downloaded before. If everybody is trying to download apps really quickly, you may struggle to utilize the walkie-talkie app. Becky, that's my mom, welcome in. She said that the walkthrough after Katrina saved us when it came to insurance claims. That's right. You want to have that log. It makes things really quick. And I love having that on file. It brings so much peace of mind, because when the ish hits the fan, you want to be able to focus on your safety and health and being there for your family and your community. Jacqueline shared that Zello Walkie is the name. ZELLOWALKIE is the walkie-talkie app. So I recommend downloading that. That's what you need to do generally. That's it, no matter what. These are just things that I recommend, right? So now we're going to dive into each different weather occurrence individually. So we're going to start with hurricanes. This is the one that we're known for, right? The legends that we are. Also, shout out to our good friends in the Florida Panhandle. I know that you know that this is crazy. And a special shout out to Sneaky Pickle, bringing us a little bit of caffeine tonight. Sneaky Pickle in the Bywater. Go get the Wagyu burger. It's delicious. But this is what we're going to dive into is before the storm. We're going to talk, what do we need to do before the storm? What do we need to do during a storm? And what do we need to do afterwards? We're about halfway through the time tonight, so we may run over a little bit, but I welcome you to stay as long as you'd like. This will be available to stream after it's over. So if you miss anything or you have to jump off at any point, this will live on evergreen in perpetuity. So before the storm, you're going to want to, let me get over here. You're going to want to follow the National Hurricane Center forecast. That's nhc.noaa.gov. That is my favorite place to go check for activity in the Gulf, activity in the Atlantic. That's also where they post the cone of uncertainty. So you'll know where watches and warnings are being issued, where the projections of the storm path are at the time. It's a great resource. I know that things on the news can feel very alarmist. So if you want to go right to the source and get the best data, go to nhc.noaa.gov. It is the best. Also, I recommend a website called Tropical Tidbits. Let me go ahead and put that in the chat box, tropicaltidbits.com. This is a fantastic aggregator website of all of these different forecasts and the radar and spaghetti models and all that stuff. It's a wonderful resource as well. You're going to want to know your evacuation routes and your destination. Go ahead, be connected with your destination, whether that's a loved one, if that's putting together hotel accommodations, whatever that is, know your evacuation routes, know your destination. And I recommend being familiar with the side streets on the way to your destination, because the main, I-20, anything, I-65, like all of these different main corridors out of here, I-10, of course, all of these main corridors are going to be filled with people just like you getting the hell out of Dodge. So know a few of your different evacuation routes. How can you zip past one place to connect to another place? So know your evacuation routes and your destination. If you are unable to drive, let me move myself off of here. You may have seen these around New Orleans, and you may not be familiar with what they are, but the thing in the picture here, that big metal statue, they are all over New Orleans, and these are called evacu spots. These are pickup locations for aided evacuation out of the city of New Orleans. Usually they'll go to Houston is a big location that they'll take you to a shelter. And there are 17 locations all around New Orleans. So sign up for NOLA Ready. If there's a mandatory evacuation issued, the evacu spots will be activated, and you will go to these locations to be picked up and safely evacuated out of New Orleans. They'll let you know either Houston. A lot of times they'll go to Birmingham, Alabama, sometimes to North Louisiana, sometimes to Jackson, Mississippi. So they will communicate your destination with you, but make sure that you know to go to these locations. They've got quite a few of them. The one in the picture right here is in front of Armstrong Park. So they are in very convenient locations. I wanted to take myself off of there so you know what it looks like. It's not my face on that sculpture. It is just the sculpture. And then prepare your home. So we've got a lot of stuff to do to prepare your home. You're going to want to, before I forget, let me step back. You can text evac NOLA. Let me put this in the chat. This is really important. Evac NOLA to 77295 for a evacu spot. So if this is something that you believe that you may need, you can text evac NOLA to 77295 for a evacu spot, and they will let you know. Go ahead and sign up for that. Don't wait until the mandatory evacuation, but they will let you know where to go, where buses are going, and all of that good information. But secure your home. Trim weak tree limbs, bring in the patio furniture. Anything that can become a projectile will become a projectile. And then turn off propane tanks, review your roof and window conditions, make sure that they're locked well in advance. Fuel up your car. That is a big one right now. Fuel up your car. Gas stations will run out of gas. And here's my philosophy with it. If you fill up your car, you're going to use the gas anyway. It does not hurt. You are going to use that gas. So when the storm seems like it might be approaching, it looks like there's, good conditions for formation, go ahead and fill up your car. That way, when you need to get the hell out of Dodge, you can go ahead and run on out. If you have any propane tanks, make sure that those are shut off and secured. And then fill your prescriptions early. All of those things, make sure everything is secure. Make sure you've got what you need just in case you need to evacuate. I know for Hurricane Ida, I made the decision to evacuate at about 3 a.m. and I had my bag pre-packed and I was ready to hit the road. I know that made my mom very happy. And it was super easy. I got out, there was no traffic, but later that morning, if I had to take the time to pack up my bag, it would have been a nightmare. My stuff was ready. Pancake stuff was ready. My car was full of gas. All I needed to do when I made that decision was grab my keys and get in the car and lock the front door. It made a horribly stressful situation a million times easier. Next up, this is a big one. Please, 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 if you don't get anything else from this, please educate yourself on how to safely use your generator. You would be shocked, and the statistics are absolutely heartbreaking. The amount of storm-related fatalities that are due to carbon monoxide poisoning. Make sure that if you're using a generator, whether it is a full-time whole home generator or one that you just kind of pull out, make sure that it is extremely well ventilated. Make sure that it is never in a garage or on your porch. You would be shocked how far carbon monoxide can travel. It can travel over 20 feet. So please make sure that your generator is located at least 20 feet from your home. And you should have this anyway, but please make sure that you have multiple carbon monoxide detectors in your home. You're going to want that as a backup. You're going to want to put a carbon monoxide detector in every room, every sleeping room, You could put that in your garage, all of those different places. They're extremely inexpensive. Make sure that it has a lithium battery, that it can last even if the power goes down, if you have a plug-in version. I cannot stress that enough. Please have them in your home anyway, but carbon monoxide is extraordinarily deadly. It will make you loopy and slip away before you even realize it. So please, it is great to have backup power, but you can't enjoy the backup power if you're not here to enjoy it with us. The other thing is to update your government IDs. They need to be, your driver's license should say your home address, wherever you are residing. I know it's inconvenient. Go to the ABC title in Chalmette. They are a hoot and a half, and it's very easy. Update your driver's license location. Why is that? You can still drive with it located somewhere else, but I can tell you from firsthand experience that if it is so severe that the National Guard is called in, the only way you're going to be allowed back to your home is if your government issued ID matches the place you're trying to get to. They will close off different sections of the city and they will not let you pass. You can have whatever you want. You can have a lease. You can have the cash deed to your house. But if a government issued photo ID address does not match that location, the National Guard, the city, FEMA, whoever it is, they will not let you through to your home to check on your belongings. And then make sure before you leave to shut off your gas and your water. I have seen this before where you have some type of damage to your home that would have been rather manageable, but it broke a water pipe in the process, flooded the whole home. God knows that there can be gas leaks and fires and all that stuff. Know before it's time to evacuate where those main shutoffs are for your house. And here's a fun little tip. Cover your beds, your furniture, and your antiques with plastic drop cloth. These things are like $2 at Lowe's or Home Depot. After Hurricane Ida, I came home. I threw a plastic sheet over my bed. I came home and we had a roof leak that had somehow found its way into my ceiling fan, overfilled the bowl on the ceiling fan, and was all over the bed. But because I had thought to put down a plastic drop cloth over my bed before I left, I was able to come home, pull it off, and have a dry bed. It was wonderful. Otherwise, I would have had to replace about $1,500 to $2,000 worth of bedding, and that would have been a nightmare. And my stuff would have been wet, and I would have been very sad. And I was already very tired. I wanted to sleep. Becky says, buy a water key to turn off the water. Yeah, you could do that on Amazon. Maybe I will include that in the emergency box, but yeah, you can turn it off at the city. If you need to turn it off at the city connection, you can do that. You should also have another hand valve that you can crank and turn off, but using a water key to shut it off at the city, it's very inexpensive. And that is your highest level of protection against water leaks. Now, what do you do during this storm? You're going to want to shelter an interior room, have mattresses, pillows, and blankets nearby. Those are going to cover you in case of any falling debris. I'm so glad my mom is here because she asks me this all the time. Have a bicycle or motorcycle helmet ready. If there are a number of times where tornadoes spin off during a hurricane or the winds are high enough that they cause structural damage, having a bicycle or a motorcycle helmet handy is an extraordinary level of protection. It's super easy. You probably have one already, but bring it with you. Do not go outside into the eye of the storm if it crosses over you. That happened in New Orleans during Zeta. You go outside, it's so pretty. Guess what? That only lasts a couple of minutes, and now the storm's coming from a different direction, and the wind speed's going in another direction as well. There's also the risk of falling trees and down power lines. So do not go outside. Look through the window if you need to. Get back into your safe place. Monitor NOLA Ready and National Weather Service updates. Have that weather radio that's going to give you everything you need to know. Oh, Liz just asked, should you tape your windows or leave them cracked? We're going to talk about think it might be on this slide. We're going to talk about leaving a window cracked or a door cracked. No, you should not tape your window. That's not going to help with anything. It's just going to be a pain in the behind later to have to get all of that adhesive off of your window. And no amount of Goo Gone is going to save your tail later on. But no, you should not tape your windows. And let's talk about leaving your windows cracked or your door cracked in just a minute. Again, please monitor your generator safety. I cannot express this enough. You're going to hear it again in a minute, but please, for the love of God, know how to safely use your generator. No amount of creature comfort is worth your life. Turn around, don't drown. If you see any water on the streets, please do not drive it. Even if you drive that street 100 times a day and you think that you have references for the depth of the water, please, for the love of God, do not drive through flooding water. And no, let me see where it is. Maybe it's later on. So I'll go ahead and talk about this. Do not leave doors or windows cracked. You cannot let a storm through the house. Some people think that there is a philosophy behind letting the pressure equalize in a house, that's going to save your tail. It will not. That just lets the storm. You want to keep your envelope sealed in your house. You want to keep a roof on. You want to keep the doors closed and all that. Do not crack your doors. That just allows the wind to come through and peel off things much faster. And then after the storm, remember to photograph and document all damages. Again, you can use video here. That's a very helpful tool. Contact your insurance agent immediately. I know my person, Lee Miller at Goosehead Insurance, is also a New Orleans local. So make sure you're not just saving your insurance agent's phone number. All of these different insurance companies will have a claims line. Your insurance agent is probably also affected by the storm if they are local, and I do recommend a local insurance agent. You're going to want to make sure that you have that claims line saved. Put that in those key phone numbers. And also, please assume all standing water is contaminated or electrically charged. You don't know what is in that water. It could be there's a lot of oil that leaks in, there's gas that leaks in, there could be contaminants from the sewer that will make you very, very ill. And also, you don't know what is going on with the electrical grid. Even if the power is out in your house, it's probably on somewhere else. And that could there's a huge electroshock risk in standing water. It's the same reason you don't swim in a boat marina. If you didn't know that, don't do that either, because there are a lot of electrical currents that can be running through that water. Yeah, there you go. And then you're going to want to monitor those boil water advisories. NOLA Ready does a great job of this. Be prepared to continue having to use SMS text to get those out. Jake said, and the threat of critters like snakes. He learned that lesson. Now I need to learn that story. But yes, there are snakes, gators. We've got gators in New Orleans, so there could be gators in the water. You don't know. So what you don't know can, in fact, hurt you. So make sure that you are prepared to use the text, and you're only using 911 for genuine emergencies. There is an imminent threat to your life and your safety. That's the only time that you should use 911. If you call 911 to tell them that there's a hurricane, honey, they know. Trust me, they know. They will be aware of this. And if you want to report a downed power line or a gas smell, report that to the utility company. Save those utility company phone numbers as well. 911 is not the place to report a downed power line. You want to take that directly to the utility company, and you do not want to approach it. Do not step over it. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 because you might be collecting 200 volts directly to your body, to your person, if you interact with those down power lines. Oh, baby. We know flooding. We know flooding very, very well, unfortunately. But we also know that flooding does not just take place during hurricanes. Flooding is a big component of hurricane threats, but it can happen sort of any day. We had a pop-up storm, I think it was maybe Monday, Tuesday, where we had hail. Could have brought flooding too with it. We had about 2.5 inches of rain in about an hour. Sewage and Water Board. Everyone's favorite. Sewage and Water Board, the pump system has major limitations, not only do they not all work all the time, but even if every single pump was operational, the sewage and water board pump system is only designed to handle 1 inch of water in the first hour and a half inch per hour for every hour after that in a good situation. So be prepared for water to sit and be aware of those pump system limitations. Know how your block specifically handles water. My block does a pretty good job of it, but the neighbors could risk, car flooding just about every time. So know how your block specifically handles water. Be familiar with your flood zone and your flood elevation. Just because, and I said this earlier, just because you're an ex-flood zone, it does not mean you won't experience flooding. It can happen to anybody. Be prepared for it. Own your catch basin and keep it clean. We have one right outside of our house. It's sort of adopted by us and the neighbors. If you see trash in front of it, even on the sunniest day, if you see a neighbor who trimmed shrubs or anything like that, and that it looks like it could block it, keep it clean. If it's currently dirty, clean it. And if it's clean, keep it clean. That's going to save you, your street, your cars, all of that. Keep your catch basins clean. Try to have your HVAC and other mechanical equipment elevated. So if you've got, a water heater, a tank water heater, or HVAC equipment, try to make sure that that is elevated. That can save you thousands and thousands of dollars later on. Again, I'm going to remind everybody of this. Sign up for NOLA Ready. Huge help. And they will also notify you when there is an approaching storm. They will notify you of sandbag locations. They will have the sand and the bags. You have to bring the shovel and the manpower, but they will tell you where those locations are, when they're available, and when they currently have supply. Again, never drive or walk through a flooded street for the reasons that we talked about earlier. And let me hide myself again here, but I'm shocked how many people don't know about Streetwise. But that's too much of me. There we go. Monitor and report to NOLA Streetwise. NOLA Streetwise is a live website platform that will show you where there are street closures for accidents and also for flooding. You can also report to NOLA Streetwise with flooding. So go to streetwise.nola.gov and keep an eye on where there is standing water on the streets, where there are blocked streets, car accidents. And if you know of street flooding, be a good neighbor, submit a report. But that is a fantastic way to stay updated on what is going on. Let's see. Yeah, that's sort of it there. Oh boy. Tornadoes. I don't know about you. I feel like tornadoes are happening now more than ever in the city of New Orleans. We've all seen the situations lately. It seems weird. There have been since 1965, there have been 7 federally declared tornado disaster emergencies in the city of New Orleans. That's crazy. We are prepared for hurricanes. Like my late father used to say, he said he would take a hurricane over a tornado any day because he knew to get the hell out of Dodge. But tornadoes are a weird thing that we as a city are not used to. But if you don't know, I grew up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We split time. My dad was born and raised in New Orleans. So we had a camp on Grand Isle. So we knew hurricanes very well. And then we were super familiar with tornadoes. Tornadoes and tornado preparation is second nature. And I have found it kind of disappointing that the city has not educated people on how to be prepared for tornadoes, how to look out for tornadoes, and what to do in the event of a tornado. So let me actually bring me back so I can talk to you. And Louisiana, New Orleans specifically, has completely different architecture than the rest of the United States. We don't have basements here, so there is going to be an entire different way that you need to prepare for a tornado if you live in Louisiana. So let's talk about it. The first thing that I would like to share is going to be a story. Tornadoes and NOLA, not so unlikely pairing anymore. But I want to share a personal story. We won't go into it too much. But this picture that you see here on the screen is actually from my hometown. It is just a couple blocks from where we lived on April 27th, 2011. If you're familiar with that, if you saw the news, if you know me, you know that an EF4 tornado that was about 1.5 miles wide struck my hometown of Tuscaloosa while I was there visiting. I was a freshman in college, and we had a direct hit from the tornado. So survived that with the knowledge that I'm going to share with you now. So this is something that is deeply personal to me. This is something that I care greatly about. And it is sort of a platform of mine to share this knowledge. I want people to know, and it's really frustrating to me that the city of New Orleans and Southeast Louisiana does not educate its citizens more on how to handle tornadoes. So yes, I've had personal experience with this. So please believe me and listen to me with the information that I'll share with you about how to handle a tornado in New Orleans. There is a seasonality to tornadoes. They tend to happen around April. We just had one in June. They also spin off of hurricanes. They massively spin off of hurricanes. Let me make sure I have the right location because I always get this twisted. It is typically in the northern part, like the northeastern section of a hurricane. That's typically where you see tornadoes spin off. They can happen anywhere, but you need to know what to do in that instance. It also doesn't take a hurricane for a tornado, as we just learned not too terribly long ago. So they will also peak again during November and December. Why does this happen? Why is there a seasonality? A little bit about this is that tornadoes spin off when there are cold fronts and warm fronts that converge. That's what causes this, the twisting, and then the rotation of the storm. So that's going to be at the seasonal changes. So end of spring as it starts to heat up, and then as we move from summer into fall, and not that we have a fall in New Orleans, but we move into fall. That's when you're going to experience most of those. But again, they can happen sort of any time. If you have watched Twisters, any tornado related fictional or non-fictional movie, documentary, whatever it is, you'll often see or hear tornado sirens. It is a hallmark warning system. Everybody knows that sound. New Orleans does not have, do not rely on a tornado siren. We do not have them in New Orleans. You will not get that warning. But if you are out and about in away from phone service, if for some reason you can't be getting updates, there are telltale signs of tornadic activity. So of course, you'll see the clouds, but everybody knows that kind of greenish tinted color. If the sky and the atmosphere gets that weird olive hue to it, if you hear a roaring sound, some people say it sounds like a freight train. I went through the middle of a tornado and I didn't think it sounded like a freight train, but if it sounds like it to you, yes. There can also be a visible funnel cloud. Of course, that's the tornado itself. An approaching cloud of debris, even if no funnel is visible yet. If you see, I always think back to Twister, we got cows, but if we got debris, then there's a high likelihood of a tornado coming or severe straight line winds. The other one that is a big telltale sign is a rapid change in temperature. That is the thing that I think I remember most about my experience going through a tornado, was that it was a warm end of April day and it suddenly got like chills cold. If that happens really quickly, you need to heed that warning and seek shelter. We also have there's a whole language around watches and warnings, and I feel like that's not well communicated by our local municipality. What is a watch and what is a warning? These are two very different things. If there is a tornado watch, that means that the conditions are highly conducive to the development of a tornado. So you're going to see, we get watches more than we get warnings. It's a good thing to go ahead and be at the ready to know that that's happening. But let's talk about what an actual tornado warning is. The casual nature of so many of my friends around a tornado warning never ceases to baffle me and kind of tick me off a little bit. I love them dearly, but if there is a warning, a tornado warning means that a a tornado has either been spotted visually, someone has seen the tornado, or an active tornado has been identified on radar on the Doppler. So if you get a tornado warning, they have become much more focused on your actual location. So, you know, if there's one going on in New Orleans East, I may not get that in Mid-City. But if you are receiving a tornado warning to your phone, it is time to take shelter immediately. If you are caught in your vehicle, you need to exit your vehicle. If it is approaching your vehicle, you need to find the lowest lying, I know this sounds crazy, the lowest lying level that you can get to, preferably a ditch. Do not get into a tunnel. If there is like a drainage tunnel, do not get into that. But lay as flat as you can. I know that seems counterintuitive, but your car becomes a major projectile, and many people have lost their lives in that way. Here's one. You've seen it in the movies as well. Never take shelter under an overpass, typically a highway overpass. Do not ever take shelter there. I know it's going to feel intuitive to run up there, but really that just creates a funnel for those high winds to rush through. And with that brings debris. So never, ever, 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 ever take shelter under an overpass. Now let's talk about, growing up, we had basements in Alabama, and that is the best place to go. It is either a designated tornado shelter or a home with a basement. Go in the basement. You want to be underground in the event of a tornado, but as we all know, in New Orleans, you are not getting underground. No one has a basement here. The water table is far too high. You cannot really build one. You can't really build a tornado shelter. So what do you do if you cannot get underground in a tornado? Let me get myself off of here again. Nowhere to go. So as you can see here, there we go. Okay, now my cursor's on the screen. This is a house with a basement. This is from NOAA.weather.gov or weather.gov. You want to be on the lowest possible floor of your home in the most interior room possible. We have a lot of shotgun homes here. So you will be the kind of person that you definitely want to have you're going to want to have the mattress ready. You're going to have the helmet, the bicycle helmet, the motorcycle helmet. You're going to want to have these things ready. But you want to be as far away from doors and windows as possible. That's going to be in a hallway. That can be an interior bathroom. That can be a closet. We always recommend to be in any space without a window, with no doors, or with the doors closed. So no exterior doors. So please stay as interior as possible and identify that space tonight, tomorrow, at the latest tomorrow. Know where your spot is so that when there is a tornado warning, you know exactly where to go. Protect your head, protect your neck, be covered by a mattress, pull the couch cushions. I know exactly in our house where we go. If there is an ongoing threat of tornadoes or expected threat of tornadoes, go ahead and have your closed-toed shoes. And if it's overnight, especially, have your closed-toed shoes, your, pillows or cushions or whatever it is, and the bicycle helmet. Have all of these things already in that location you want to get to, because you want to reduce the amount of time between where you are currently when you receive the alert to where you need to be to get safe. All right, we are going to speed through seasonal maintenance. I love the saying, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I recommend an annual roof inspection. Stay informed on the Fortified Roof Lottery. If you are subscribed to my newsletter, you will always be notified of when the Fortified Roof Lottery comes active. Trim your trees, secure your siding, remove your trash. If it can become debris, it will become debris. Mom also said, and a jacket for after a storm. That's true. Have some extra clothing with you. Right there is always a good idea. I remember after our storm, I was really scraped up and I had no idea until the next day where we got to a friend's house for shelter that I was cut up all over. So make sure you bring, a couple layers of clean, shirt and things like that with you in the case of a tornado. Please, please, please test and service your generators regularly. Regularly update your home inventory with that video walkthrough. If you want to be the star pupil, do the video walkthrough and have a written accompaniment of that. So keep an Excel spreadsheet. Keep your home inventory updated regularly. I recommend shopping your insurance policies at least once a year, and make sure to prevent the flooding that your gutters are clear of debris, your basins. Ooh, apparently I cannot spell today. But your catch basins and your drains are all clean. And then last, here it is. Here you go, Liz. I think this is next. Letting the pressure out's a myth. Make sure your doors and window seals are solid. Keep your weather stripping in place. Replace your weather stripping. Make sure your windows close all the way, that they lock. Letting the pressure out is a myth and a lie that is just gonna make things much worse for you. I saw that on Mythbusters, so I know it's true. All right. Any questions about that? We're going to start wrapping up, but any questions about that, please start dropping your final questions or comments in the chat. Coming soon, I'm going to be doing the emergency kit giveaway, a complete emergency preparedness set. This is going to be flashlights, the hand crank weather radio. This is going to be the document protectors. This is going to be the strobe light. We're going to have some of everything in here. How can you win this? Make sure you follow me at Richard Hébert Realtor on Instagram for the actual launch date and how to enter. Make sure you're watching that. And you must be able to pick it up in person at our shop, Anglin Volkers, New Orleans. On special occasions, depending on the winter, we may be able to ship it. We'll see. I don't know how big the box is going to be yet, but preferably you'll be able to pick it up in person at our beautiful new shop, which you should stop by and see anyway, even if you're not the winner of our giveaway. The Anglin Volkers New Orleans shop is located at 2844 Magazine Street. Come see us. We're right there at the intersection of Magazine and Washington. Okay, we've made it through that. I know that's a ton of information. I'm so sorry we had to rush through it. You can never be too prepared. The next live stream is going to be in 2 weeks right here on YouTube. And if you're watching on Facebook, we'll be there again. That's going to be Thursday, July 23rd at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. There will probably be a pop-up one either this weekend. So make sure you stay subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you like this live stream video. And just to wrap up, it means so much to me to have you here, to have you join. Every resource I ever create, anything that I ever do will always be free. I say this at the end of every live stream, I believe in empowerment through education. So it does mean a great deal to me that you are here tonight. So please be sure to follow the Instagram at Richard Hébert Realtor for the giveaway details as they come alive. That will be come online. That will be sometime next week. And then also don't forget to come see me this Saturday in person at the Faubourg St. John Bastille Day celebration, 3100 block of Ponce de Leon. Drinks, music, come see me, get a free French flag pen. That will be this Saturday, July 11th from 5 to 9. I'm volunteering at the Drake booth from 5 to 7 and at the neighborhood booth from 8 to 9. I think that is it. I really, really, really appreciate you being here. I love doing these. This is like my absolute joy. So thank you so much for joining, Scott. Thank you for that. Thank you, Liz, for helping out. Liz is an amazing resource to have as well. So thank you. Please stay safe. Please stay weather aware. If you have any questions or you would like the full details, like I said, I've got a full document of every single item that we talked about tonight. If you would like a PDF copy of that, please let me know. Sign up for my newsletter, richardhebertrealtor.com/contact. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining, and I will see you next time.